सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
G20 summit or the grand finale of India's presidency or presidency year of G20 is to take place in New Delhi in about a week from now. Now, time with that, the Pew Research Organization has produced data, a new research also comparing with benchmarks seen in the past. So there are comparisons available. New research, and this is titled on research on the world's views on India. How does the world view India? So this is research across 23 major countries. These include the G7 countries, everything minus China, because, you know, the challenges of conducting a research in China, a public opinion research in China, you might as well read Global Times and you can get all the opinion that you want. And also across important countries in Europe, America, North America, but also across important countries in Latin America, and even more importantly, in Africa. So 23 countries, survey actually is across 24 countries, but 24th is India. So we look at the views of 23 countries on India. By and large, overall, on an average, the view is positive. So I have this report with me, and this report says views of India lean positive across 23 countries. But then there is a lot of clutter as we wade into it. So before I do that, let me also tell you with great joy and satisfaction that ThePrint, which I know you like so much and which you support so much, that just completed 6 years since it was founded. So ThePrint is now 6. Our birthday was last week. We had a small celebration, cut a cake, and had a small celebration in our newsroom today. You will see some pictures from that celebration as we speak. So please, I'm sure you will see many familiar faces, people you've been watching on your screens all this while. These are the wonderful people who make ThePrint what it is. So thank you very much for being there, because without you, we would not have come this far. So keep supporting ThePrint. Thank you very much. And most importantly, keep watching, reading and listening to us. That said, back to my Pew research. Now, if you look at this Pew research, and I told you that underneath this headline is views of India lean positive across 23 countries. By the way, I will share the entire link with you, so you can read the entire research and the analysis. For any further detail, you can check out this document from the link I give you, and that link also will take you to many other links, because this report does not have every graphic, because then there are studies and there is data about individual countries, particularly China, which I find very interesting. That's why I've taken out some stuff, especially on China. So I will tell you some highlights first. First of all, as I told you, the overall view of India is positive. So the median average of the 23 countries on their view of India shows that 46% respondents are positive on India. So that is good news. Again, within that, you will notice that the Quad countries, and I will go over these graphics one by one, the Quad countries, that is Australia, Japan, America, in those countries, the view of India is particularly favorable, as it is in North America in general, that is the US, Canada, and Mexico as well. Then India suffers setbacks in some other countries. I will come to that in detail when we talk. But most importantly, second point, India has declined in big Europe. So the big European countries, particularly with which past data is available, there India has suffered a sizable loss in popularity. Now, you might say some of it is because of Ukraine, but maybe that applies to Poland. Why should it apply to many other European countries? And why should it apply to France, where the decline in India's popularity has been the steepest? And I will come to the data in just a minute as we talk about graphics. Number 3, Africa. Africa is a mixed bag. India is way behind China in general. China is a lot more popular in Africa than India. Among the African nations polled, the big African nations have been polled. And again, the surprising thing is that India does India does very poorly in South Africa. This is despite the old Mahatma Gandhi connection, India's opposition to apartheid, etc. India is quite unpopular in South Africa. India, on the other hand, more than makes up for that lack of popularity in South Africa with a rising popularity in Kenya, which is really the highest in the world. Kenya and also Nigeria. But South Africa is a bummer. It's very, very poor. Then, again, a very important highlight, Indians love America. So in India, popularity of America is upwards of 70%. In India, affirmative view of Biden, Joe Biden, is above 65%. It's very high, among the highest in the world. Next, in America, again, it's a surprise. In America, while India is popular, generally, but more liberals like India in America than conservatives. Now, that is just a little bit of a disappointment for all the big vocal support base in India for Donald Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, etc., etc., etc. That liberals in America like India a lot more than conservatives. I will come to that graphic also in just a minute. Then China and Xi Jinping are generally disliked across the world. And over the periods of the polls going back 10-15 years, Xi Jinping only came in 2013-14. Since that period, Xi Jinping has remained very unpopular, and his lack of popularity or his unpopularity has only gone up. In India also, China is very unpopular, as you would expect, but not as unpopular as China is among the richer countries of the world, which is again a surprise. At the same time, China is a lot more popular in what we may describe and what is something that we keep harping on all the time, the global south. In the so-called global south, China does enormously better than India, according to this research. Next, the most positive view of India. The most positive view of India. Guess which country, right? The most positive view of India comes from a tiny country, tiny big country. In fact, they sell t-shirts in that country saying the smallest big country in the world, that is Israel. India gets 71% positive rating in Israel. Now Narendra Modi's own popularity, that's a mixed bag, because 37% people across these countries polled say that they have faith in Modi doing the good thing by world affairs. 37%. But 40% say that they do not believe that he will do the right thing by world affairs, in international affairs. Now, that doesn't quite square with the claims that Modi government has, that India is now rated very high internationally and the world trusts India and Narendra Modi, even for bringing about peace in Ukraine, etc. But the reality of this poll is that while 37% trust Narendra Modi to do the right thing by world affairs, international affairs, 40% don't. Now, Russia. Russia is the country, Russia and Putin, which now polarize global affairs, right? The global view, right now, the global power equation is split on the basis of pro-Russia, anti-Russia. Pro-Ukraine, anti-Ukraine. So Russia is not the most popular country in the developed world. And you can see that. Even in Asia, it's not that popular. It is popular in African countries, right? I told you the whole global south business. That's complicated. But in India, India stands out as a rare country and a rare democracy where Russia is very popular. So India, to that extent, is truly non-aligned in its public opinion, to the extent that India has probably the highest rating for America, the highest positive rating for America and its president, and also among democracies, definitely the highest positive rating for Russia and also its president, Vladimir Putin. So that's a good, interesting surprise. Now what I will do is, I will quite conveniently draw on the graphics from the Pew report, and thank you very much, Pew organization, for letting us do it, and explain some of the key graphics for you. So look at graphic 1. Graphic 1 is color-coded. It tells you the view of the world, the view of these countries polled about India. The darker, the better, right? So you get an immediate view of who likes India more, who likes India less. Now, what happens in big graphics like this, because it's the whole world, that a tiny country called Israel gets hidden, because that country has the highest view. So we'll see if we can enlarge it for you. That is graphic 1. Graphic 2. Graphic 2, is India's influence rising? right? A lot of the countries think, yes, India's influence is rising. And this graphic shows you that these countries are Australia, Italy, South Korea, UK, the Netherlands, and Japan. They think India's influence is rising. You can see the graphic and you can see the numbers. I'm not repeating them. Which are the countries that think India's influence is declining? That's very important because two of those are countries in Asia, and one of them is a country where India has very deep business interests, and that country is also a Western ally, although it keeps a very robust relationship with China as well. That is Singapore. So Singapore is 28% think that India's influence is actually declining. That is the highest negative rating on India's influence, global influence among all these countries polled. So Singapore 28% negative, Malaysia 27% negative, Singapore's next door neighbor, and Spain. So once we come to the graphic on Europe, you will also see how this figure about Spain seems logical. So we come to graphic 3. Graphic 3 tells us about the fall in India's popularity in Europe between 2008 and 2023. These are countries which were polled in the past, so you can make comparisons. If you see this decline across all major European countries, right? That is France, Spain, Germany, Poland, UK, and so on. The decline across all the European countries is at least 10 percentage points for each country, at least 10 percentage points. But look at the steepest decline. That's the headline point in this graphic. The steepest decline among major European countries is actually in France, which is such a close friend of India. And that friendship, if anything, has been strengthened and deepened in the Modi era. In fact, Prime Minister Modi was there only recently. French president has been in India. He's been feted at India's most important public events. And yet, look at the fall of India's popularity in France in 15 years. In 2008, 70% French people had a positive view of India. That is the same percentage of people that in India have a positive view of America right now. So 70% in 2008 had a positive view of India. Today, it is down to 39%. 39%. In the UK, India is still very popular, but it's down from 66, it's down from 75 to 66. And at the same time in UK, India's negative rating has gone up. People who do not like India in UK have gone up from 9%. They were just 9% in 2008 who did not like India. It's gone up from 9% to 33%. Similarly, look at other countries. Germany, 60% liked India. Now it's only 43%. 29% disliked India, now 38%. Spain, 48% liked India, now it's only 34%. In fact, it's across Spain, Greece, Poland, and Germany where India's popularity has fallen most of all. So if you look at graphic 4, that simply tells you that India has a positive view above the median, and you can see on the graphic the median mark, above the median. That is above the median of these 24 countries polled. Above the median for its popularity, for the popularity of both the US and Russia in the country, but it is negative on China below the median, which means China is more unpopular in India than the average across these countries. Now, in case of Russia, in fact, popularity of Russia is 4 times as high as in the 23 country median in Russia. So Russia is very popular in India. And that's a very important point. China is unpopular in India, more unpopular than it is across these countries. A little bit more unpopular, not much more unpopular, because by and large China is unpopular anyway. Never mind the fact that in some African countries, China is still liked very much, which brings us to graphic 5. Graphic 5, you will see that will give you the whole world's ranking of India. And you will see generally the view of India is more favorable than not. The big negatives for India are Spain, Greece, the Netherlands. Some Netherlands ka humne kya bigada hai? I don't know what harm have been done to them, but we are really unpopular in that country. So Spain, 49% don't like us. Greece, 41% don't like us. Netherlands, 48% don't like us. Poland, you can understand. Israel, I told you, we are the top of the pops there. But look at South Africa. 51% of the people in South Africa have a negative view of India. That is very concerning. Only 28% have a positive view of India, which brings us to come to graphic 6. Looks a bit complicated, but it's quite simple because what it tells you is it looks at the views of India on the basis of who likes India more, people on the left or people on the right. So you can see the markings in the middle. This tells you who's on the left, who's on the right, and who's on the center. And that tells you that in key countries, India is liked more by people on the right, particularly European countries, than on the left. America, however, is an exception where people, you can say on the left, that is Democrats, liberals, they like India a lot more than conservatives. So 57% on the Democratic side or the liberal side like India, only 47% on the conservative side like India. Again, if you look at the data and the analysis, it tells you that in Europe, populist parties, those following the populist parties, like India more. Then graphic 7 tells you the views of India over time, and you can see how these views have been evolving. It's very interesting, and you will see that almost everywhere and among almost all these countries, India's favorable view has declined over these years. Now, if it has declined over these years, how come it is still looking positive? It is looking positive. So it was much more positive earlier. India is positive. The world has a positive view of India right now, at least these 23 countries. But it is less positive than it used to be. So if you look at France, steep decline, Spain decline, Brazil decline, Germany decline, Poland decline, Indonesia decline, UK decline, South Africa steep decline, and South Africa steep increase among those who dislike India also. Then South Korea, interesting, a flat line. South Korea is a flat line. Nigeria, India's popularity has gone up. And even in Mexico, India's popularity has gone up a little bit. The 8th graphic is about the confidence that the world has, these 23 countries have, in Narendra Modi's contribution to world affairs. Is his contribution positive? It's okay, so, or is it negative? So look at the countries which have a positive view of Modi's contribution in world affairs. Kenya tops 60%. I told you India and Modi are very popular in Kenya. Kenya 60%, Nigeria very high. Then the 2 Quad members, Japan and Australia, Israel, you can always count on the Israelis. They are there. But look at the countries where it's low, and it's very interesting. The US, it's quite low. 37% in US say they have no confidence in Modi doing the right thing in world affairs. 21% have a positive view of Modi's role in world affairs in the US, which is intriguing given the fact that India is popular in the US. Mexico, 50% negative, only 22% positive. Brazil, again 54% negative. MEA, India's policy managers, people who look at the world, have to do more work in Latin America, South America. That's a problem. In Israel also, where India is so popular, say 41% have a positive view of Narendra Modi, 42% have a negative view of Narendra Modi. So once again, you can see that Narendra Modi is a polarizing figure. Again, Australia is a country where India is liked very much. And the median then is 40:37. 37% people say that they have faith in Narendra Modi doing the right thing by world affairs. 40% say they don't. Then we come to some of the more predictable stuff. This is the survey data from India. What do you think of Modi? 79%. Modi must be the most popular leader in the world among democracies. I'm not saying if you held a poll in Russia or a poll in China, Modi won't be beaten, but that's probably the only way you can beat Modi in an opinion poll. In a democracy, I don't see any leader having 79% positive view in his own country as Modi does. But interestingly, the same survey, and you can see this table, this graphic, it also tells you that 62% people now also have a positive view of Rahul Gandhi. So he's done something to build his stature over time, but 79% is very big. Also, Modi's popularity is across all demographics. Women a little bit less than men, but enough, 65-66% is enough. Now the next graphic, in the G20 week, G20 grand finale week, how do we Indians see our influence as growing or not growing across the world. Now, we in India believe in a very large number, 68% of us believe, according to this survey, that India's influence is getting stronger. 19% think it's staying about the same. Only 13% think it's getting weaker. But if you look at the 19-country median, and 19-country median is because these countries were surveyed last year, and that data is available. But so if you look at the 19-country median, only 28% think that our influence is rising. 48% think it's about the same. 13% think it is declining. So once again, our own worldview or our own view of how far we are growing and how powerful we are becoming, that is not shared across these countries. In fact, the view across these countries is quite the opposite. The next two graphics, both the graphics will run on your screen and you can look at the data and you can understand what's going on. If you look at the first of these two graphics, these tell you that we Indians think that both the US and the Russian influence is rising in the world. We must be the only major country in the world to think like that. And the next graphic tells us that we in India want America and believe that America has become more influential. In fact, 49% of us against the global median of 32%. On Russia, India is 41%, which is exactly the same as the global median. On China, 38% of us think China is becoming more influential, but global median is 66%. So there we are outliers. Now we come to some really interesting, really tricky data. So look at the confidence, the global confidence in Xi Jinping. Some of the results are predictable. But would it be so overwhelmingly so? I had not imagined this. So if you look at the median of these 24 countries, 74% think that they have no confidence at all in Xi Jinping. 74%, only 19% have a positive view on him. Then if you go country by country, then you can see the richer countries, Canada, US, Sweden, France, Germany, Spain, the Netherlands, UK, Italy, even Hungary for that matter, Japan for sure. Japan has very high unpopularity ratings for Xi Jinping. South Korea, Australia, Xi Jinping is very unpopular in these countries. But in India, the unpopularity of Xi Jinping is 48%, which is quite high, but it is still lower than these developed countries. That tells me something intriguing. Again, if I see the data under India, and we'll highlight this. So there are 4 categories here. None at all, no confidence in Xi Jinping at all. Second, not too much. Third, some confidence. And fourth, a lot. So if you look under India, and we'll highlight this for you on the screen, 48% say no confidence at all. 9% say not too much confidence. 24% say some confidence. Where are these 24%? And I know finding 24% might be very tough, but find me the last category. Those are the ones I want to meet. 8% Indians say that they have a lot of confidence in Xi Jinping. Those are the 8% I'd really love to meet. Where the hell are they? But these are the results of the results of this poll. Again, if you want to see where Xi Jinping is popular, you go to Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, generally in the global south. Global median is 74% negative and 19% positive. Only 19% positive. So Xi Jinping is not going to win elections across these 23 countries. Not that he cares. He keeps winning elections in his own country all the time anyway. Since we are talking about China at this point, from Xi Jinping, we go to China's power, see how popular or unpopular China is. So Chinese investments. Again, if you see this graphic, this chart, it tells you that the overall view of Chinese investments is very positive in Africa. Again, mark Africa. It's quite positive in Africa. In India, as you would expect, it is negative. Then rising economic power in China. Who thinks it's negative? The most negative view on China's rising economic power, believe it or not, comes not from India. I would have immediately thought it will be India. It actually comes from Australia. It's 65%. We Indians are a lot more forgiving of China. Only 41% of us think that Chinese rising economic power is a bad thing, but 65% of Australians do. And interestingly, even 39% of Israelis, although the Israeli government, Netanyahu's government has been trying to reach out to China, even 39% of the Israelis don't like it. And you know what? Finally, we don't talk about Pakistan very much these days, at least not in this league. But this survey also has India's view on Pakistan, which continue to be as negative as before. In fact, they are so bad, they are so low that I can't imagine they can get worse. And if you look at the graphic, it's almost a flat line. It's almost like a dead person's ECG. It's a flat line. That means India's views of Pakistan continues to be negative as before.